So finally, we are getting into the discussion on behalf of the Department of International Relations, Maharajas College, University of Mysore, and the National Institute of Advanced Studies, NIAS, Bangalore. We have organized a 3-day, yes, sir, 3-day workshop. It is on China in South Asia. In the 3 days workshop, we also plan to organize one book discussion, which is rightly required. And everyone wants to know about the nuclear energy, nuclear test, how it is working, and what are the works have been done in this area. And then we decided, sir, also last time only we planned to have you people, sir, and we couldn't have because of some technical issues, some building issues also. And today it is very honored to us to have Professor Ramamurthy sir and Srivastava sir, Ashvi sir and Professor Subha. And moreover, we have our beloved principal and CEO sir, Professor Devaraj Gowda and Himaya sir. And later we are Professor Krishnaveli. She is also going to join us. She is the specialization is nuclear physics. And she, I think, little bit later, she may join us. She is directing. She is the director of IOE also. And today, I must tell you, it is very honored and it is a rightly discussion we have. I hope the students will be benefited by this opportunity. And in this book, where the sir has been discussed on various issues and international collaboration in basic sciences. And many of the students, maybe you are from science background, science stream. You try to get the benefit, you can explore the knowledge from the Professor Ramamurthy sir and Srivastava sir. And Professor Ramamurthy sir, he is Padma Bhushan awardee. It's a very great to us, and we are really blessed to have a great personality. And Professor Srivastava sir, he bagged many awardees, and he is also associated with the presently NIAS. And last time also we met and we had we had a discussion on many issues. Of course, we from humanities area stream, and we couldn't catch him. And now I hope we are cleanly observing you, sir, your words and your and we will try to digest because it is not reachable to us. Anyway, we will try to understand our students also really blessed. With that, I will welcome all, sir. It's a warm welcome to you all, sir, to the discussion. And once again, hoping that students will be benefited in future, because they are the one who have to understand, who should know about the things what is happening in the science and international relations and bilateral issues, and many things are getting changed. They are the one who can have an innovative ideas. With this, we have started, Professor Shiva sir, and we started this journey, sir, to involve in the discussion. All the time, the strain he is taking, we can't explain in a few words. All the time, he will bring the students to Bangalore, and we are providing the place, and that's it, accommodation, that's it. Other than that, he is the one who is taking all the effort and strain and struggle also, better to say. With this, I will once again will welcome all you people, and we have a culture to welcome our guest with a bouquet. This is white flower. We are willing to carry the peace to global. Please. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right. Sir, please. With the message that we are carrying the peace to global community, we will start our discussion. And, I request to Professor Devaraj Gowda sir to address because admissions are going on, sir. with great difficulty, with I pressurized sir, go to sir, to sir, at least for 10 minutes you have to come and join us, sir. Then he obliged and he respected my words and he joined. Please, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to be a part of today's event, an interesting book discussion on science behind the borders, international collaboration in basic sciences, organized by National Institute of Advanced Studies and the Department of International Relations, Maharaja College, University of Mysore, Mysore. It is an honor to have with us distinguished scientist Dinesh K. Srivastava, Padma Bhushan awardee, and the well-known Indian nuclear scientist V.S. Ramamurthy and Professor D. Shubha Chandran, Dean of School of Conflict and Security Studies, National Institute of Advanced Studies. International collaborations in science are crucial for advancing knowledge, addressing global challenges, and fostering a more equitable and sustainable future. It follows for the exchange of expertise, resources, and perspectives, leading to more impactful research and innovation. I am sure this book will be of great interest of science policy makers in industry and government. Also, it is important for academic institutions and universities to carry out such book discussions that help young scholars to enhance critical thinking, to understand different perspectives and connect with the author's idea, ultimately deepening their understanding of the material. I congratulate Dr. Bharati Piramat, Coordinator, Department of International Relations, Maharajas College, University of Mysore, and also Professor D. Shubha Chandran, National Institute of Advanced Studies for their initiatives. I am glad to know that young minds from different universities and states have joined us today. I hope all of you will make utmost use of this opportunity. Without taking much time, I leave the platform to you. Have a successful event. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.
Thank you, sir. Everyone. Yes. We will leave it to Professor Subha to talk a few words about the books. You are the one who will, then later I request Mr. Ramaphosa sir, give us sir to talk on the book. Later, the agent Professor Rashmi and Krishna Vedi will join the discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Bharti. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you, sir, for being with us. We understand your busy admission schedule. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
One hour, 45 minutes is the following. I'll request Professor Ramamurthy first to introduce the book, the idea behind the book, what made them to write the book, and what was the larger plan. And I'll request Professor Srivastava to take a larger time and explain what is in the book. So that's the way that we have planned, and then we will request Dr. Rashmi and Dr. Krishnaveni to respond first, and then we'll open the floor for Q&A. I hope that is okay with everyone. Now let me start with a thank you note to Dr. Bharti for hosting this book discussion, and also agreeing to let this book discussion as a part of the China in South Asia workshop, because I thought we have scholars from different institutions here. It should be a better way to reach out to 10, 12 institutions in one lecture. So with that note, thank you, Bharti, for hosting us. We invite Dr. Ramamurthy first for his introductory remarks.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you.
I was a government servant before I retired for almost 42 years. And I'm a nuclear scientist, but we do research. But one thing we have to all learn if you join government service is if you want money, you have to ask the government. And if you want to ask the government, there is a procedure. Write down what you want, why you want, how much you want, or how much period you want. And then it will be examined by a group of people whom you don't know who are those people. Then they will come and say, yes, you got it. You do it. And at the end of this, have you done it? And otherwise you say, no, you don't get it. Go back and start all over again. And we also have a problem that suppose you are searching whether in nature 2 and 2 make 7. So come out with an answer, no, you prove that it cannot be. It has to be 2 and 2 has to be 4. It cannot be 7. Then somebody will ask that, and then why did you start doing this such? So the thing turned back on you. Why did you do what you wanted to do? And why did you even want wasted our time? So getting money from the government is not the easiest thing. This is a standard thing which all have to learn. In this background, I want to bring to your attention a few things. We are in June 2025. In December 2024, 5-6 months before, the Union Cabinet approved participation of India in international R&D project. International R&D project. The project was a square kilometer array. Doesn't matter what it was. It's called square kilometer array. It's a radio telescope being built in Australia and South Africa. The telescope will come up in Australia and South Africa. The management infrastructure is supposed to be in UK, United Kingdom. And total cost, several tens of thousands of crores. Tens of thousands of crores. And India has committed to support to the extent of 1,250 crores over 10 years for this project. What do you get in return? You can participate in that experiment. Right? That's a gain you get out of it. And you have to convince yourself that it is worth participating. 1,000 crores of the government money is going into it. What is important is why the government supports such a thing. It has nothing to do with them. The facility is not coming in India. The benefits are not directly coming to India. It's shared by everybody. Why did India support such a program? This is only a natural question in the mind of many people. On the positive side, the number of institutions which participate in this program from India is about 24. 24 academic and research institutions from India will be participating. What does it mean? Mysore University is participating, not the buildings. Ultimately, it is the faculty and the students, Indians, scientists of different kind, right? And in this program of square kilometer array, something like 24 academic and research institutions will be participating. Formally, they are there. You know very well, if 2 institutions participate in this country in the same project, they will only be fighting. Very rarely you see such a large number of institutions coming together on a common project for which funding is coming from the government. India has been involved in the design of this system, even in the proposal that such a system should be kept in place where India will be likely to participate. And because we are paying 1,000 crores, we also become a member of the management council. That means you have a say in what they do, how they do, where they do, all those things, right? But this is not the normal process in which government of India functions. We rarely see a proposal by 20 institutions. We rarely see a proposal in which the activity takes place somewhere outside the country, right? Something is unusual. But reality, it has been sanctioned. While you may be thinking, "Hey, this is an unusual thing, so there must be somebody who has a push with the Narendra Modi. So he has agreed to this." But interestingly, 1 year before, 2023, the Union Cabinet approved a laser interferometer gravitational wave observatory. Something takes place several thousand light years away. That's the time when light travels, right? It's obviously not very well close. And this observatory is to look for signals of what is happening on the edge of the universe. And couple of years before, there were indications that the gravitational wave, right? Gravitational is something which we all know, something which takes place between you and me. If we are here, there is a wave between the two, but something happens to it and you see variations in it. This is what they had seen. And there was a proposal internationally, we must look at it in more detail. Only then we can look at where is the edge of the universe when it was formed, right? How much India has committed for this? 2,600 crores. The Indian cabinet has committed to support to this group 2,600 crores to be spent in the next 10 years. If somebody asks, what is the use of this? What is the use of your knowing what's happening thousands of light years away? You can use nothing, knowledge only. But India is willing to invest in knowledge, generating knowledge. So this is something unusual which has not taken place before. Go even beyond 2014. India has committed to support a telescope project in Hawaii. We have a half a dozen telescopes in this country. Kovalur has one here. We have one in Hanle. Right? We have one in Nainital. So there are many telescopes in India, but this telescope is going to be much bigger than any of the things which we have. And we have something like India has committed 1,300 crores. We are not talking about 1 crore, 10 crores. It's all 1,000 crores. Like that. And the Indian cabinet is approving this. Somebody has convinced them that it is worth investing in this. Right? So this is something which needs to be noted. Was it the first one? No. In 2007, 15 years before, Union Cabinet approved India's participation in an international project demonstrating the feasibility of fusion energy. You all heard about fission energy. Fission, one nucleus breaks into two and releases large quantity of energy that gave rise to the bomb that gives the electricity which you use in our home. Right? Nuclear physicists have been saying that you must be able to get same kind of energy from fusion. No demonstration of it has taken place except a laboratory demonstration. People have been saying, why are you not doing at the industry level? Why can't we have fusion energy fund energizing our entire houses and factories? They have not taken place so far. So in 2007, Indian cabinet approved participation in international project aimed at demonstrating the feasibility of fusion energy. It's an international project something like 7 founding members were there. Who are they? China, European Union, India, Japan, Korea, Russia, United States. These are the countries who are investing in this. Indian contribution is something like 10%, which runs into thousands of crores. All right? From where they got the confidence? Can we compete in United States? No, we can't. How are they allowing you to sit in the same table as United States and European Union? China is there. If China is there, we should be there. But they have to agree that India can be a partner. Right? Before that, before 2007, in the early 2000 or late 1900, 1992 onwards, India joined a nuclear physics laboratory in Chile. That laboratory was started 1954 in Europe, basically to compete with United States. Because till 1950s, nuclear physics was taking place only in the United States because all accelerators were expensive. Somebody in Europe said, no, what is this? We cannot allow them to do. They joined together and formed a system in Geneva. In 1990, India decided to join this. So you are not part of Europe. So a lot of discussion took place. They said, okay, we will allow you to come in. But number one, you have to bring in money. And number two, you will be an observer. You will not be a member. You will be an observer. India agreed to do that. 10 years later, they knew its advantages to have Indian participation in this program. So today, India's contribution has increased. We are no longer observers. We are actually participants. Associates. We are not Europeans, but we are associates.
Please.
How are you? Good to see you.
Never seen, sir. One person never seen, sir. I didn't hear that word.
Yeah, met him in several
Just
EAs.
on a spot, we are inviting you. Please.
So 90s, India decided to formally join the CERN collaboration. Though we are not qualified, we are not a member, but an observer and then an associate. It is 20 years now. Before that, have we invested in any international collaborations, international science studies? No, never. For two reasons. Number one, we didn't have money. 1,000 crores, just like that, you can't give. More importantly, the Indian mindset. We cannot compete with the white men. So we will be watching from a distance. It was in 1990, they said, no, we will be a partner with you. You may call it participant, associate, give any name, but we are with you. Well, they invested money, they did many things. And this is something which started in 1990s, right? So this 1990, up to 1990, India was a crying baby. We can't do it, right? Beyond 1990, they're saying, hey, I'm willing to put as much money as you do, but let me also participate in this. You can't keep me out of this. So that newfound confidence has come now. And there are many international programs in which India is participating as a regular member, right? There are problems. It's not that every project is smooth sailing, no. Some projects, I mean, for example, the telescope, optical telescope, supposed to come in Hawaii. Suddenly, the local people there in that region, they said, no, we don't want it. They said it is spoiling our life. We have a peaceful life here. If you put your things, visitors will come, scientists will come, our things will go. So we don't want it. So the project is not progressing at all. But is this not story known to you? See, we were supposed to have a neutrino laboratory in South.
Here in Madhubal.
Yes.
Started here.
Yes, it's finished now. It's not there. Why? Some politicians said, no, this will spoil our life. What do you mean by that? He doesn't know it. In fact, there are instances where he did not know the difference between a neutron and a neutrino. But they were the ones who are taking the decisions. He's a member of parliament. So what he says is the Bible. Nobody can change it, right? So this kind of problems exist in India, but also exist outside. It's not only unique to us. So what I would like to say is, in the last 20 years, there is a new India. There is a confidence. If you can do it, I cannot do it. Number two, yeah, we are also willing to put money. It's not that we want your money. No. We are willing to put my money, in which you are also putting your money, and we will jointly run this due for confidence. Right? I am not saying it's because of this government or that government, because between 90 and 2025, 4 governments have taken place. 4 or 5 maybe. Right? So it has nothing to do with the government. Then for whom the credit goes? Scientific community. It's a scientific community which had the confidence, they are able to convince the government, and they have become part of the international science. Right? Dr. Srivastava will be talking about what all has happened under the sun flag. How India has contributed, what India has contributed, why what India has contributed has a value to them, and where are we today. So he will discuss in more detail one case, the earliest case, but I wanted to only highlight it is not one event, isolated event. A new India is being seen in the scientific scenario. Confidence, money, and the commitment to do it. All the 3 are new. So this is what is happening now. And I will now request Dr. Srivastava to elaborate on this more.
Pick from there.
You can.
He likes that.
I prefer to stand. Then I'm alert, otherwise I'll fall asleep.
Do you want to sit here? Do you want to sit here?
No.
He wants to stand, let him.
I'll come.
Fortunately, we have
Sir.
been
We need to have one book, sir, so that I can.
That is part of the. Okay, so. Thank you for having us here. And thank you for a very warm welcome. And as it has been happening for last 30, 40 years, Professor Ramamurthy has stolen my thunder. Okay, whatever I was to say, he has already said. So what do I tell? So I'll talk about the book in detail, give an introduction. The book is in front of you. But unfortunately, I have only one copy, so I cannot spare it to you. And it is a sum total of our experience of several decades, which has been poured into that. And also, we roped in Subha to have a realistic look, because we, being scientists, became very idealistic. So he has also contributed by giving a realistic look. Okay, so you see, as Professor Ramamurthy has already told you, international collaboration allows researchers from different countries, from as many countries as possible, pool their resources, their expertise, and their knowledge to tackle a common problem. And this combined effort tackles complex scientific challenges that may actually be beyond the capacity, intellectual or financial or technical capacity of one particular. So it could not be tackled without doing international collaboration. And of course, it leads to something very nice. I mean, I was very happy that somebody was talking of peace today. And because it fosters the sharing of data and ideas, accelerates scientific progress, and leads to breakthroughs which benefit the entire humanity. I'm sorry, this last line is being cut off somehow. Okay. So we have seen the advantages of international collaboration. COVID-19 could be tackled only because the entire world worked together. Yeah. In the establishment of CERN, which I will explain in detail, building of Large Hadron Collider, ITER, International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, here, about which I will tell, and LIGO, it was mentioned, this 5-kilometer array, 30-meter telescope, large number of terrestrial and space telescopes, International Space Station. One of our pilots is going to be an astronaut and who will perform experiments there. Discovery of Higgs boson, which is one of the better known examples, because it was somehow renamed as God particle. Discovery of gravitational waves, exploration of North and South Pole regions in all their aspects, exploration of tsunami warning systems across the world, green revolution, because of which we are all here, otherwise maybe 2/3 of our world population would not have been alive today. Understanding of weather and monsoon in the rapidly warming world and the spread of modern technology and education across the world. Right now, the situation is that if you take the MSc course anywhere, it is likely to be identical to any other country. MSc Physics, the same course is being taught. This internationalization of course or education is also a very wonderful thing. Yeah. So, for example, right now, the biggest problem the world is facing is climate change, despite what Donald Trump says, which can only be solved if each and every country cooperates and contributes to the mitigation measures and research outlined by scientists from across the world. Yeah, this provides us with a huge existential challenge, which can only be met when each one of us contributes. Even if one country decides not to contribute, we will not succeed. Suppose United States withdraws completely and goes on spraying carbon dioxide, all our efforts will fail. It's like if you are sitting in a boat, even one hole is enough to sink it. These examples are actually discussed in the book. Okay? And once you have international collaboration, the futility of conflict will automatically become clear to you. That is our fervent hope. May or may not work, but we can at least try. If we fail to rise to the occasion, the problem is that if we fail to rise to occasion, our very survival on this planet will become suspect. We will not survive actually. And we hope that this book is of interest to a lot of people, but let us see, that we cannot demand, right? So that is how the book starts. It starts with this quote, very famous quote, which talks of collaboration. It just talks that we do everything together, we are nourished together, we work together with great energy, may our intellect be sharpened, may there be no animosity between us, may this bring peace to us, peace to our nations, and peace to the entire universe. And you know that this was the prayer which used to be recited at the beginning of class in Gurukuls and at the end of the class. So the chapters which we have discussed, subjects which we have discussed here are, we have one chapter which is very free-flowing chapter, the very first one, which talks about sharing of knowledge and collaboration. Then just to make the book more interesting, but to emphasize a point, we have talked about migration of world birds across nations. Because you want to understand that and to keep it, understand that you need collaboration between different nations because birds migrate all the way from North Pole, South Pole and back, right? So then coffee and tea, this was also done only to keep the book interesting because this is what you take while discussing paper, how it started, how it spread, and how it played such an important role in the spread of knowledge. It was only with discovery of paper and printing that distribution of knowledge became very, very easy. A large chapter, which is actually on the website, available for free to read, is on green revolution. Because without green revolution, a large part of population today would have died. Okay, so green revolution was also international collaboration. Somebody coming from America, working in Mexico, then sending seeds to China, to India and Pakistan. You know that, okay? Then we talk about iron and steel. The wood, this steel from South India, from Tamil Nadu, education and transmission of knowledge. We spent quite some time, and we also tell how we have done some things very well, but we have not done some things that well. What are the missing things? Then we talked about this space exploration. Then CERN, which I will discuss in detail, is Nightingale of 1,000 Songs. ITER, the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor. We talked about facility of antiproton and ion research. Many of these collaborations were started because of political compulsions also. Even that is discussed by us. Astronomy, the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning System, the weather and climate meteorology, Arctic and Antarctica collaborations on which NIAS has been working so much. Then collaboration among animals and birds. We do not realize, but animals and birds also collaborate. And this was done only to put us to shame. That, oh, kya baat hai? Even animals and birds are collaborating, at least now you learn from them. Okay, basic sciences, competition, cooperation, collaboration, conflict and communication, then science, diplomacy, and we come to the end. Okay, so this is the entire book. Now I have taken one chapter on CERN, which I will explain in detail and tell you how it came about. CERN, I have compared it to Hajaran Bulbul. That please don't think that I have spelled it wrong. That is the Armenian spelling. And it starts something like this. And the harsh winter comes to the mountains, hill, valley, at the foot of Mount Ararat. Wild gardens bloom, flowers come out, thousands of birds sing their wonderful songs. And on this occasion, Armenians welcome the arrival of spring by recalling the legend of Hajaran. And it is said that this is a nightingale of 1,000 songs, a tiny bird with bright plumage, and it also sings very loudly. And every word I'm saying will become clear as I proceed. It is also said that spring would never have come without its wonderful and sweet songs. People believe that the art revived, that this bird's art revived withered gardens and mountains and valleys bloomed with verdant vegetation. And the story of Hajaran Bulbul is the story about the power of love, the importance of music, and the triumph of good over evil. And so is the story of CERN. Now, how do I say that? You see, the CERN, it was born out of despair destruction and desolation brought about by the Second World War. The war was witnessed to loss of 75 to 80 million human lives. Yeah. The largest number of them from USSR, China, Poland, and Germany. The times were so desperate that 3 to 6 million Indians died just because food was not available to them in Bengal. And Mr. Winston Churchill would not allow food to go from other parts of India into Bengal. Okay. Moreover, 89,000 Indian soldiers were killed. 68,000 of them were wounded in wars fought in Europe. हमारी लड़ाई नहीं थी, that was not our war, but we were a colonized nation and we had to do it. Up to 6 million persons of Jewish origin, 300,000 persons of disabilities, and 250,000 to 500,000 Romani or Gypsies were also murdered. Look at the desperation. The war also witnessed large-scale tyranny, cruelty, starvation, suffering, torture, and death and murder of tens of thousands, possibly several times more of prisoners of war. There was a massive destruction of cities and industrial infrastructure. In iconic cities like London, Berlin, Warsaw, Stalingrad, Tokyo, Hamburg, Dresden, Cologne, all of them were completely devastated. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were destroyed by use of nuclear bombs. The war's impact on cities was profound, and the destruction was to remain visible for years. This is how Frankfurt looked like. Just one church standing, all around it completely destroyed. This is how the city of London looked. Yeah. And it did not stop there. What happened is that about 13.5 million, 16.5 million German speakers were thrown out, essentially. Their life became miserable, and they were thrown out of Eastern, Central, and Eastern Europe. There was a massive exodus of Jewish scientists, intellectuals, and industrialists from Europe, mostly to USA, but also to other countries, which completely denuded Europe of scientists. The turmoil caused by fascism and war completely depleted most of the resources of Eastern Europe, both material and the exodus of alarming number of European scientists to countries more advanced, and that it continued even after the war ended. Okay, in this atmosphere, scientists started discussing the possibility of a European physics laboratory. The idea was first voiced publicly by Louis de Broglie at some European Cultural Conference in 1949. And then over a number of conferences, 1950 and 51, with the help of UNESCO, the idea of a European Nuclear Physics Laboratory started. 11 governments signed, and they decided to set up what is called Council European for Research in Nuclear, which is abbreviated as CERN, and it has continued to be very detailed. Okay. It was decided to set it up in Switzerland, which is centrally located, and it had remained neutral during the Second World War. So, number of countries they joined and set up. They became members. Austria joined. Spain joined for some time, but then came out. Yugoslavia had joined, but then withdrew. And now it has 23 member states. And Croatia, India, Latvia, Lithuania, Pakistan, Turkey, and Ukraine are associate member states. Japan and United States are America hold observer state for the Large Hadron Collider, while the United States of America also holds this. Okay. Now, here is one picture which I want you to remember. This is a picture of foundation stone, laying out the foundation stone. The person who is laying the foundation stone, the director, and he is the Minister of Finance of Switzerland. Can you ever imagine such a thing in Bharat Bhumi? I'll leave it there. Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm not able to do something. Well, okay, so it started with yeah, keep it this way. Yeah. So it started with setting up the first accelerator at CERN it started in 1957 and it continued to work in 1990. It was the first, it was to study nuclear physics using 600 MeV protons. It pioneered techniques for particle acceleration, which Europeans did not know. And it remained site of something called isotope suppression online isotope separator experiments till 1990. Then they set up next one, which is proton synchrotron, which was the first strong focusing thing, and it gave 24 GeV protons, and it was continue to be useful later because it will feed to ISR, SPS, and LSC about which I'll let you know. Yeah. Then it set up intersecting storage rings, which were operating during 1971 to 74. This was the first proton-proton collider. It reached the energy of 31 GeV per beam, and it demonstrated collider feasibility and stochastic cooling. I can explain that if there are some physics people here and who are interested. Okay. This is how it worked. You send a particle here, it is boosted, then it is centered in protons and protons, then it is split into two. One beam goes this way, the other beam goes that way, and they collide. It's called intersecting thing, storage ring. And then they build super protons and protons. Each of them were built with international collaboration between the European nations. Okay. 1976 to present, it is still operating, and it discovered W and Z bosons, for which Nobel Prize was given, and later it was going to, it became free accelerator. Then there was this LEP, or Large Electron Positron Collider, and its important discovery was that there are only three types of neutrinos. Okay. Then the glory of it, Large Hadron Collider came. It started in 2008 and discovered Higgs boson, or what you people know as God's particle, pentaquarks, and quark plasma, where Yost also did some work. LENAC series developed several other things, and now it has proposed future circular collider FCC, for which studies are going on. I will tell you. So this is how the Large Hadron Collider looks like. You have an ion source. You can either give proton or lead. It is accelerated here. Then it goes to SPS. And they are further accelerated. Then they go through Large Hadron Collider, and they are accelerated and collided. And there are a certain number of experiments, EMS, LHC-B, Atlas, and ALICE. These are different experiments along the track, which are okay. These are the subsystems of LHC. One can go through it, a very complex system. Then cryogenic systems, the largest cryogenic panel, ultra-high vacuum, power and control systems, data infrastructure worldwide, Large Hadron computing grid. These were all developed here and discussed. This is a picture of Large Hadron Collider. It has a 27-kilometer tunnel, about 100 meters below underground. India contributed to the magnet, and these are all magnets. Okay, these are magnets pieces by pieces. And these are put on stands which are adjusted to micron level thickness so that the beam remains completely horizontal. India contributed to magnets, diagnostics, computer control, and beam guiding systems, including stands. So the number of experiments, and this is one of the experiments called Alice. I discovered quark plasma conditions of early universe. I will explain to you. The early universe is supposed to have started in a Big Bang. Until about a few microseconds after the Big Bang, the entire universe was in the form of a plasma of quarks and gluons. That's why it is called quark plasma. And at Large Hadron Collider, by colliding two heavy nuclei like lead, you can create that quark plasma in a small quantity and study it. And that way you can understand what was the nature of the universe at the beginning. Okay, and that's why India provided a detector called Bhutan multiple detector, muon spectrometer, grid computing, power, and the analysis. So this is the history of universe. Universe is supposed to have started in Big Bang, and then in the beginning there were only quarks and some of the quarks, gluons, and some other things, and somewhere here. Up to here, it was quark plasma. Then transfer from protons and neutrons were formed. Then heavier nuclei were formed like helium, deuterium, and helium. And then elements were formed, hydrogen and helium. Atoms were formed. Afterwards, the universe is continuously expanding and cooling. Then you had the first stage of first generation of stars, which exploded into supernova explosion. Then you had the second generation of stars, and that is where we are now. Yeah. And beauty is that with the quark plasma, I mean the Large Hadron Collider, you can study this part of the universe. You can recreate this part of the universe in a small volume and study it. Okay. And this is what is called phase diagram. So quark plasma, as I explained to you, it is a plasma of quarks and gluons. And you know, the quarks and gluons were trapped inside the protons and neutrons at the beginning of the universe, 13.7 billion years ago. They could not be taken out from inside protons and neutrons. But these collisions, those quarks and gluons, which were in the captivity inside protons and neutrons, have been liberated from there. We are studying them. Okay, this is the Atlas experiment, and on the right is the CMS experiment. And these are the two experiments which discovered the Higgs boson, which gives mass to all the particles. Okay. India contributed to detectors, computing, and analysis for CMS. This is one event where a Higgs boson is decaying into photons. Okay. Major scientific discoveries. In 1973, they discovered weak neutral current, got Nobel Prize. 1983, they discovered W and Z bosons. And then 2012, they discovered Higgs boson. Okay. And then they also discovered antimatter. They trapped anti-hydrogen for study. They discovered quark plasma. And just a few days ago, they announced discovery of heaviest antimatter hypernucleus. But this is not the only thing, sir. All these things, whenever you are doing basic research, which has never been done before, you will normally need techniques which are not available. You will have to develop very powerful techniques. which will also have applications elsewhere. So this happened here as well. www. You cannot live without it. Entire development which is taking place today is driven by www. It was invented by Tim Berners-Lee to say, a huge quantity of data was taken. It was all there on computers at CERN, on tapes at CERN. But there are workers from all over the world. They were required to go to CERN to analyze the data. www was invented, World Wide Web was invented by him so that people could sit in Japan, in India, in America, anywhere, and use that data. They don't have to come, but just sharing of data. It was a requirement, and from that it came. Okay, then medical applications, PET scans, hadron therapy for cancer treatment, grid computing, where computers of the entire world, all over the world, they can be connected together into one grid. And when you submit a job, it could be run wherever a computer is free. But when you have a computer, it is not necessarily that it is used all the time. It may be lying free, and then it could be used by your collaborator. It could be anywhere. Okay, that was grid computing. Then open science, public data sharing, and training and collaboration. CERN runs one of the best training programs in the world. Every year, hundreds of students go and spend time from primary school. Recently, they started even for children for what you call nurseries. Yeah, kindergartens. Even kindergarten children have started going to CERN. They're taken around, they're explained, they're told, and then they're asked to make cartoons or pictures of what they have seen. If a child who is that young sees something as wonderful at CERN, he is going to be hooked on to science for all time. CERN and NASA, these are two organizations which have done a lot more for popularization of science anywhere in the world than all of us put together. Okay? So CERN is also one of the most successful models for international collaboration. And it is a living testimony to it. It is estimated that it hosts 70% of world's particle physics. And then it is one of the biggest scientific endeavors in the history of mankind. The Large Hadron Collider and detectors there for very big all this collaboration. About 16,000 scientists of more than 110 different nationalities work together at CERN toward common goal, regardless of ethnic, cultural, political, and religious difference. I told you about the CMS experiment. Indians and Pakistanis, they work side by side, only at CERN. Now, what is the future? There's something called a standard model in physics. It says that these are the building blocks up and these quarks and leptons, bosons, and this. But now we know what to call it. We call it physics beyond a standard model because we have seen what is known as neutrino oscillation. And it is because of that we are here. There is more matter than antimatter. Otherwise, we would not have been present. We don't know how it happens. And it is expected that CERN will give you answer for that. Of all the matter you see all over the universe, that is just 4%. All the stars, galaxies, planets, everything, all of us put, they constitute to only about 4% of the matter. 21% of the matter of the universe, whose presence is felt because of its gravitational field, but it is not known what makes it, what causes it, what is its nature, how does it come about? And then there is 75% is dark energy. We all know that, we all have heard that university is expanding. But for some time now, 2000, a few million years ago, the rate of expansion is accelerating. And that is being caused by what is known as dark energy. We know that some dark energy is causing this acceleration of the expansion, but we don't know what it is, what is its nature, what is causing it. So these things remain to be understood. We are on our way out, but maybe the next generation of our students will get to work there, they'll find it. And this is for that, the future circular collider is being planned. We will have a 100-kilometer long tunnel. Okay. Why I'm telling you all these things? There's so much detail. The beauty is that because India contributed to start building of its accelerator, building of its facilities, building of detectors, analysis, contributed scientifically, idea-wise, and also prepared to provide money for all this. As a result, a facility for anti-proton and ion research was coming up in Germany. They invited India to become a member. Now, as a part of that facility, 3% of the cost of that facility is borne by India. There are about 500 to 600 scientists from India, nuclear physicists of all hues. They are working in India and they are working for fair. And 3% of, we are part owner of that. It's one of very unique experiments. And in fact, this was started at the time of Professor Ramamurthy's position as Secretary, Department of Science and Technology. Then we can go through, we can tell you the entire sequence of how India started at CERN. In the beginning, people were working at individual levels. Then in 1990s, people from Raja Ramana Center for Advanced Technology in Indore, they started contributing several components of CERN. And this was done a very beautiful thing. In the sense that the equipment which was supplied to that was valued. And CERN decided to give half of the price which India had spent in making those things to Indian scientists who would go to CERN for their living expenses or doing the experiment. That immediately took care of this treacherous, terrible problem of TA and DA when you go abroad. Okay, they contribute to a number of things. India and CERN, they signed a cooperation agreement in 1991, and then in India agreed to take part in construction of Large Hadron Collider, and as part because of which we were able to do experiments there. India joined efforts on computing grid, which I told you about. IAFR and my own institute at Calcutta are the two nodal centers, and etc. And in order to honor all these things, India also provided one of the biggest freestanding statues of Lord Nataraj, performing his Anand Tandava at CERN. As right now, this must be the most photographed picture in CERN. Anybody who goes to CERN will stand there and get himself photographed. Now, one of the early directors of CERN, Director Generals of CERN, and a very famous scientist, Victor Weisskopf, from whose book we learned all that nuclear physics we know. He said that for me, the development of CERN in the last 3 decades is not only an impressive story of success, but also a fulfillment of a dream Our dream was to see a great and active laboratory of fundamental physics in Europe that transcends national boundaries and is a symbol of a bright future. And humanity will be united when the national pride does not refer to any specific country, but to the whole of our great planet Earth. And all this was done by a group of engineer physicists. That has no parallel in any other institution and unique in the world. Okay. So पहले वाला क्या? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let me come back to Hazrat Bulbul story. Is believed to live beyond 7 seas. This Hazrat Bulbul is believed to live beyond 7 seas and 7 mountains. And it is said that in order to reach there, hero must pass through untold difficulties. It is also told that he must be reborn and must have a kind and generous heart, a virtuous, honest, and noble soul, a strong will, an unbreakable spirit, and transform to become his perfect, highest version. And only then he gets Hazrat Bulbul and brings it back. Okay. And all these qualities in you are necessary for you to become a good international collaborator. Yeah. Next one. Yeah, so I have next. Yeah. Yesterday we celebrated the birthday of Tagore, one of the greatest thinkers of India. And he was setting up his Shantiniketan, his university. He searched for a motto. Every university, like your university, has a motto. Every university has a motto. Yeah? And he came to this Yatra Viswam Bhavatek Nedam, where the world becomes one single nest. Sun is the nest of the world. And that I rest my case. Thank you.
Because in a nutshell, what Srivastava was trying to highlight, and the book has used CERN as an example, but there are many examples from different disciplines, different science disciplines, from climate change to Arctic. Why there is a need to collaborate on science at the global level, and what can be that collaboration, and how that collaboration can lead to better international position. That's what the book is all about. So now we open the floor. Maybe I'll request the senior faculty to give their inputs fast and then open the floor. But the idea is this: why we need to collaborate, and what is that we can collaborate, and how collaboration can give better results, looking at larger international peace and demand. So if there are any queries on other areas, please feel free. We will crucify them. With that, let me open the floor. Maybe I'll start with.
He's trying to say that he's not with us. Not with us.
No, but you are the scientist, we are the IR. We'll start with ma'am and then sir, and then Krishna.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to one and all. Madam, all the dignitaries here and all my dear students. It is really wonderful to have been seated among all of you, especially with Ramamurthy sir, Dinesh sir, such wonderful personalities, and seeing all such kind of research works what you all have done, and putting your experience, the entire experience of all these years in that book of Science Beyond the Universe. So it's really wonderful. I was just, Madam had shared the link, and I was just details. And it seems that you have covered most of the areas. And I.
We have not only that part which we could follow.
So the education, I mean, Indian students abroad, their culture, we see from the educational perspective, we see different civilizations. And also we see research areas where we need to concentrate on how Indians are getting an opportunity in the global platforms. So this should not only be restricted to the students of such kind of platform, but we should make sure that all the students are aware about what is happening in and around, what opportunities they get to participate globally so that they can promote, they can contribute, and they can elevate the status of our country. It's more important. And I will congratulate Ramamurthy sir and Mr. Supa sir for bringing out such a good book, and hope to have good feedback from the students. I'll definitely share this with my students as well. And let me go through it in detail, and we'll make sure that this really touches the hearts of many young researchers for the benefit of the entire society in NIAS.
Okay.
I don't know, I just jumped in, I didn't even know what this program was about. But after listening to Dinesh, see, one thing which strikes me is that one example of CERN is different. Because it's a very global concern and the topic itself is of a global nature. But I think what requires to begin with at least, if you look at different regions, take any example, take agriculture, take our ecology and environment, take any example, for example, look at SAARC countries, for example, Southeast Asia. We have so many similar problems of ecology, wildlife, environment, water sharing between India and China, Brahmaputra, between India and Pakistan, India and Bangladesh. These are
How about Tamil Nadu and Karnataka?
I know this. So, see, these are the, don't you think that we should be starting at least at that point, because different regions have so similar problems and they require so much of cooperation. Take example of South Asia also. But how much successful, for example, SAARC started? You know, we started some kind of SAARC initiatives for science. It never materialized. It took us nowhere. So what do you think about this, and you know, at what level people should start? See, Europe has its own ecology. I am an ecologist, so I think only, you know, about that. I'm a wildlife biologist, a forester. So I think of basically those problems as specific focus in mind. So I know, for example, what problems we have. You know, where India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, China, even Myanmar, up to Vietnam, for example, how we can cooperate and develop a science of ecology, which would be so much applicable for our region and which would answer so many ecological problems and solve so many problems, including, for example, agriculture and climate change.
Let me just take our question and then we'll come back to you.
Hello, sir. I think sir has forgotten me. I have attended his workshop.
I'm not forgotten, but it came when I had already started.
I was there in your school on nuclear physics in D6 in 1998.
Yes.
And also every time we refer a book by sir, nuclear detectors.
Oh, yes.
Every time I go through.
So these books came out because when I came to NIAS.
Kapoor and Ramamurthy book is famous. Sir,
Yeah, he told me he wanted me to revise that book.
Okay.
And then I look at the book and I gave up. I said, I cannot improve it.
It's already improved the version, actually. And it's such a good book. Every day I ask my students also to go through before they come to the lab. And I'm really fortunate, and I really thank ma'am for inviting for this discussion. And as far as the book is concerned, I have to go through. But anyway, as you explained, I think it's having a very good theme. And without collaborations, all of you know that we cannot do it. So collaborations are very much essential, and it's hour of the day. And we do collaborate within the country. And also we have collaboration outside the country, but it is very much needed. As far as science is concerned, it's very good. But I'll again go through the book and I'll just ask my students also to go through the book. Thank you.
See, this nuclear science center in Delhi,
Yes, yes.
this is a collaboration between various universities.
I'm also a collaborator.
Yes. Now,
I
a
guess.
couple of, maybe few years later, we said, why only nuclear physics?
Yes, sir. Now it
In
is.
every subject, there must be an inter-university center where every university can go, because it's not possible for every university to build. And I must tell you, the proposal never went beyond the first desk,
Yes.
right? I think the idea is still valid for a country of our size. Every subject must have an inter-university facilitating
Yes,
center,
sir. Yes.
so that we pool our resources and build a capacity much more than 10 individual ones have in 10 different places and they don't talk to each other, right? But, well, I think every idea has its own time. Time has not yet come.
So based on that response, before I ask you, based on that response that you heard, the three of you have been on both sides, you are scientists and you are science administrators. The point that you made, this is a very important one. It's a bureaucracy issue and also bureaucracy ministry issue. Perhaps before looking at science beyond the borders, should we look at science within the borders across the
Absolutely,
yeah,
ministries?
absolutely.
No, you three have been. So what?
This document was prepared by none other than Dr. Kasturi Rangan. It still did not go through the bureaucracy. The education ministry will not buy it. The idea was given a shape by Dr. Kasturi. But why it didn't go beyond that, I don't know. I will only say the time has not come. The horoscope has
Yes,
not
and
yet.
yes, yes and no. There is inter-university Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics. I call it. This
That is
taking,
also, and VECC also is.
yeah, BC is a lesson lab, but I always, every time I have gotten up to speak on nuclear physics, I said, in a country of India's dimension, you should have only one cyclotron. When the second cyclotron came up, it was at peace. And the third cyclotron came up,
It's also
at peace. Could have been distributed. But we cannot,
And also there is no geographical distribution also.
yeah, I mean, every time I was just telling you, that in South, there are very few nuclear physics.
Not at all.
Only now some people, recently we had a conference on Dr. Ramanna, and we were struggling to find people from South. Ultimately, I could only open Mustafa from Calicut and Paul Subramaniam from Hatia. Coming back to this IUAC. 2 months ago, I was invited there to give a peculiar talk. So we want you to give a talk to our students because they are getting disinterested in nuclear. So why should you study nuclear? And in the beginning, I did tell that IUAC has done what nuclear physics within India, what CERN did, or particle physics in Europe. All the facilities, which are one of the best facilities at any nuclear physics lab in the world, and I've seen quite a few. And it has all been possible because of our national level collaboration. And you want to do, and you give a free hand to our scientists, they have always delivered. They will deliver again. So in fact, आपका जो सवाल है, you have touched the Iran now. More, you know it much better than us. That water bodies, rivers, all these countries, India, Pakistan, Thailand, Burma, China, they all are originating from Himalaya. And those our glaciers die, then all these rivers will die. between India and China and these countries, they constitute about 4 billion people. Their life will be affected. This has to be done. Yeah, but somehow or other, like COVID, we all collaborated. We all shared data. And we and we are all going to die. Then we collaborated. Maybe we'll all collaborate and we are all going to die.
We need for sustainability to collaborate. We need one more COVID to
Yeah,
collaborate.
in fact, by the way, it's mentioned here that I forget the name, and it says that Providence has brings in calamity so that people learn to collaborate. Yeah. So
Yeah, adding to your point, what you mentioned, that we are facing, lacking students, interest in students, not only in nuclear physics, even I come from engineering background. We see that the students the attention span itself is reducing within the class. So previously, when in the olden days, when we used to take classes in 15 years back, the concentration of level of the students, the interest, the kind of questions they used to ask was kind of different. But now the change in the generation, the Z generation students, their attention span itself is very, very low. And no, in every area, we see that no, we are not finding, even in now, we are increasing the computer science, domain, the numbers have been increased in the admission sector. But, and everyone is passionate to get into computer science. But there are many opportunities for electrical engineers, many opportunities for civil engineers, many opportunities for mechanical engineers, but everyone is fascinated towards computers. Why is that? Because finally all look at the packages which we get for computers.
Trending.
Yeah, that's trending. Students will opt, but whether really are they skilled? No. So it's just it's the fashionable looks and the kind of motivation that the students are getting. It's really we don't know what will happen in the future. So I think that awareness amongst each students about the application level. I'm learning nuclear physics. What is the application? Why we should study? That awareness amongst each and every student should be created at the very end level. So that they should be focused on, oh, this is my domain. This is my domain. So that they can start working towards that. So unless the student has his or her own interest in that particular domain, because every parent is pushing the students. It is not the interest who is opting for a particular course, but it is the fantasy of the parents which is pushing the students to that particular course. I think this has to be overcome, and everyone should be created an awareness that, because we see parents coming and telling that I made my student to opt for computer science, but now he's no more interested in computer science, but his passion was towards mechanical. We forced it, but now he's not able to, gain a job because he's not at all interested. So I think that awareness amongst each student about each domain has to be brought in so that the young generation.
Ma'am, I think you need to have a course of parents, not first.
No, sir. Like, what is your view, sir? Because you are also telling that, yeah.
See, my own children, we used to have war. I will tell you something very personal. Because Madam Srivastava is not around. Every evening during dinner, we used to have war between me and my son, that I wanted him to go to IIT.
Story of every family.
Yes, yes.
Story of every family.
And he said, he told me one day in anger, आप मुझको घर से निकाल, when you throw me out of the house, I will not go to IIT. Because he gave a very clear argument. See, millions of students have joined computer science. एक का नाम बता दीजिए. Tell me name of just one student who has joined computer science. Everybody knows. Here you are one in a million. He wanted to go become a journalist. And again, we used to have war every evening. But then he wrote a paper, article, which appeared in Statesman. the first sentence was the article on private tuition. First sentence was practice of private tuition gives undue advantage to children of rich families compared to children of poor families. After I read that, I said, and the result was, after intermediate, he got full scholarship to go to Washington University. He did his first year in journalism, he competed for, now he is working in Financial Times, and he is one of the very well-known internationally renowned journalists. So it is education of the parents which is more important than the student. The students are facing too much fear. What are you doing? So it is a very complex area. And also the facts keep changing. And there was a time when computer science was not there, then computer science or medical facts keep changing. It was very difficult. I will not venture. My daughter, who was wanted to go to medicine in class 10, and after class 10, you'd write a letter and hide it under my pillow. So in the morning when I would get up, I would find a letter from her telling that she would not like to go to medicine anymore. And she wants to go to my lecture. And we had a war. The war lasted many days, many months. And then I ended. And that had made her. So parents have to realize between their ambition and children's happiness. Teachers also play very important. Family children give more importance to what family says and their teachers say than anybody. So they can also how much increase in number of students in the class, perhaps not that easy to keep individual. This is a very complex issue and there is no simple solution. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now we'll end that father-son, father-daughter student. That's we all go through it, all of us. The seniors and that. Now let's go back to science diplomacy, science beyond borders and then. Now this time I'll ask the younger ones. The idea is this, what science can do, what science is capable of bringing it, if the examples that he gave. So the floor is open.
If we can just add for a little bit, it might help the people to ask more questions. Is take examples of our own country. See, I have been in many such national committees, both in Forest Ministry for many years, and I was DST 11 years, and chairman of the Program and Advisory Committee for 6 years in the DST. So I've seen all these things very closely. There has been such a lack of coordinated program. We started in the Forest Ministry long time ago. One coordinated program, for example, research on Indian medicinal plants, which was to Himalayas, Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Andaman Nicobar Islands, Eastern Himalayas, Garo Khasi Hills. We specified
rich in it. We are rich. India is rich in this.
Yeah, so we identified so many different institutions and assigned the money to them. And that worked out very well. And see, likewise, for example, DST, for example, you know about DST as much as I do. In SERC before, the Science and Engineering Research Council, we hardly had any such coordinated activity. It became SERB, and SERB had 11 different program advisory committees. And within each advisory committee, there was hardly anything, coordinated, which I'll give you an example. I was the chairman of program advisory committee in general biology, in animal sciences. See, I gave a program as a chairman, I gave a big project. I was studying in the forest effect of forest fragmentation. See, when you have the fragments of forest in Western Ghats, it impacts animals in so many different ways. their dispersal, their movements, their biology, reproductive physiology, including genetics, because some animals can't leave the fragments. So I gave this example that I am a demographer, ecologist, animal behaviorist. These are the things which I am studying. Then we need, for example, study of parasites. So I identified some veterinary college in Kerala. They would collaborate with me. Then Salimali Center from Coimbatore. But then we need the genetic studies. So Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, one of my postdocs, Umapati, he works there. And we have been collaborating. So I got all these institutions together and gave a plan to DST. And as a chairman, I gave the project proposal. The whole problem came from the bureaucrats there. अरे भाई पैसा कैसे बांटेंगे? Who would take the money? Who would take? Will University of Mysore take all the responsibility? And you said University of Mysore, if they bring the money, they will give to CCMP, they will give to Salim Ali Center, they will give how much problem?
Safe options.
So see, we have to first start thinking. There are so many things in our own country. I mean, I can think of my own areas in ecology, but there are so many things to do to collaborate. Like nutritional research was one of them. And actually, I went to Moyar Valley. I took our people from mathematical institution. I mean, I knew those people very well. They came, they stayed with me. I took them in my jeep to those places, to Moyar Valley, to show all those places. And I know what all the problems came up later on. So I think we need a roadmap. You know, we all talk of ideas and ideals. It should happen, should happen, should happen. But how it should happen and how we can make it happen is, I think, has been lacking all the time. We see it in the ministries, we see it in all our big departments, which I know, the Department of Environment, Department of Biotechnology, Department of Science and Technology, where I have been there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that input based on your experience. Let's get back to the scholars for some questions. Let's start with Brighty. Students. Just a small note frame where you are from so that they know their street.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brighty and Sarah. I'm a first year postgraduate student in international studies from Stella Maris College in Chennai. I'm currently a research intern at NIAS. So my question is, I think, rather very obvious given the topic at hand. So having worked on, having experience in international scientific organizations, including CERN, have you met with instances where the rivalries between nations or geopolitical tensions have adversely affected scientific advancement, things that you are working towards that could have globally helped people, and has such experiences, changed how you perceived science and how diplomacy interacted with your realm of science?
Thank you for asking that. It has been discussed. I gave example of one facility for Bhutan and also CERN. In CERN, Russia and Ukraine both are members. When Russia invaded Ukraine, Ukrainian scientists, they put out protest that Russian scientists, if they have not, because around that time you will remember that about 130 Russian scientists, they put out a note giving supporting invasion of Ukraine. So Ukrainian scientists, they said that Russians should be thrown out of CERN. Large number of Russians were working at CERN. They were all thrown out. So much so that there were joint papers to be published. Ukrainian scientists and many scientists from Europe, they were not prepared to be seen in collaboration with Russians. Russians have contributed. So ultimately, every scientist has something called ORCID index, this kind of nomenclature. So for the Russian scientists, instead of giving their name and institution in the paper, only their ORCID index was given. And it was decided that on this date, which happened sometime last year, even those Russian scientists who have contracts ending, After that, their contracts will not get renewed. These are also now. Facility for anti-proton and this. They got to make a large contribution. So I decided to throw them out. And because of that, the whole project got delayed. They needed extra money, which the German government provided that extra money. And project got delayed. So those issues have also been discussed, but we have not left it untouched. So but I can give a counter example in ITER, that international thermonuclear experiment. I think the project cost is about 70 to 80,000 crore. There was a huge contribution from Russia. We stopped that, project is gone. Project is already delayed, and Russians also, their contribution is given out, nobody else. The saving grace was that Ukraine was not part of. So people are, there is no principle stand. If you want to throw out Russians from them, throw them out of all collaborations, no. There are, however, there is advantage, but you can do without them, you are throwing them out. These are very difficult topics, but yes, though they have. Again, there has been again repeated discussions that when scientists from big collaborations, big countries and small countries, they collaborate. Quite often. For example, there is a lot of collaboration between scientists from Europe and Africa. But the African scientists have really often complained that their job is relegated to only collecting data. And after the first paper is published, they are forgotten. These problems are there, but we hope as more and more people come up, they bring these issues, some solution will be found. Goodwill and the fact that we are all one, We are all from the one African mother somewhere in Kenya. As long as we realize that, keep thinking about it, things will soon work out. But yes, that is a problem.
We have a few more questions. I will go one by one. Yes,
Sir, before getting into other young scholars' questions, Madam wants to leave. She got an urgent meeting.
Thank you, sir.
And,
Thank you for reminding. I'm sorry.
He knows it's okay.
And I
Already
saw you. I've seen you, but then
quite a long time.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Nice job.
I hope you enjoyed our puri
Yes,
bhaji and bhali puri.
Yes, sir.
Our breakfast in BSc canteen is fantastic.
Yes.
One day we serve puri bhaji, next day we serve bhaji puri.
Thank you. I will.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
And Femi, and then we have three more this side. Femi, right? Sorry.
Thank you for the intervention. Sir, so you ended with talking about that we are one and how we should collaborate. You talk about when we are dealing with issues, collaboration is the only way where we can solve it, giving the example of COVID. My question is that you and I, maybe even just sitting in this room, all of us have different priorities. That also culminates to what we mean by the concerns we have. So who gets to decide what should be a priority when it comes to collaboration? What will be the urgency? I think so that is where all of us differ. Even if two countries have similar issues, say it's water issue, for one, it might be the most concerning issue. For the other, it might be the second issue. So how do we deal with this concern of urgency? Should there be a separate institution who would decide as to, this problem should be dealt with first, this is where we need to collaborate first, and then go ahead with something else?
Answer.
Why do you bring such brilliant students who ask such tough questions? Yes. You see, even in science, I mean, let me not talk about water because that is very complex. Even here, in these experiments which have to be done, the analysis which is to be done, there is always a huge difference of opinion. But people sit down together and have a discussion, very frank discussion. They put their case. And ultimately, you have to depend on a group of, you have to assume disinterested peers who will take a decision. This has all, at least in science, that is how we do. Somebody wants to study this particular aspect, somebody wants to study this. But they all sit together and try to discuss. Then there is a peer group for every experiment. With 4,000 scientists, they will have a committee, working committee. That working committee will have representations from everywhere. And they decide. Unfortunately, you have to deal with it. It's like,
Do you think certain kind of issues, say climate change, should supersede other kind of scientific development or scientific
No.
innovation?
you cannot wait for, you cannot delegate everything else.
So it should go
That
simultaneously.
is my view. Not everybody is going to work on climate change, but climate change is also not unimportant. It's very important. But it does not mean that COVID is not. It does not mean that finding a cure for my allergy, pollen allergy is not important. Everything is important. But it's a difficult issue, but within the subject, yes, can be handled. Different subjects, I don't know how much money you have. People always complain that in India, money is not given. You look at the GDP. Look at what percentage of GDP India spends. Basically 7.6%. That is exactly the same amount China spends. That is exactly the same amount America spends. But those countries get additional 2.4% of GDP funding from private industry. Our private industry don't spend any money in basic research.
We have two sets from Gauri and
Sorry, Lakshmi, then one Saraswati also.
Good morning, good evening, sir. This is Gauri. I'm a student, first year postgraduate student from Stella Maris College, International Relations. I'm a research intern under Spachadlan, sir. So I have a question. You said that it has not reached the bureaucrats level. This situation has not been addressed. So as a science beyond borders, this situation has not been come and taken into consideration in the bureaucrats level.
No,
The bureaucracy is, you mentioned it, right? Sir was discussing like.
You may have discussed that.
that question you will ask him. Go ahead, go on with the question.
Ask the
So,
question.
as like we are also a youth people, so how can, if we become a change or policy maker or something, how can, what things you will suggest us so that we can provide some changes in the.
Just be generous to us.
No, that's an important question. I think that's.
Yeah.
With all three of you said this, there's an issue in decision making. I think they are going to be the future decision makers. What would be your advice to them on what should be done? I think that's a very common question.
Try to be honest. Try to be honest. As you see, when I was director of our institute, the chairman decided that so many people should be given so high, this kind of grade. I told him, sir, I will be honest to myself and to God. If you are honest,
Even hands. I will make. And as Mahatma Gandhi used to say, that whenever you have a problem, about taking it is here. You think, how will you decision? Lowest of the low, poorest of the poor. As long as you have that thing in mind, you will never.
That's a very philosophical answer. You want a I'm not satisfied with your answer. I'll ask Ramamurthy sir. No, that's a philosophical answer. You know, if based on your experience, what can we do to address the?
See, I go to the other end. Real. Different office balance, the chair decides what is your priority. But unfortunately, priority of one chair and the priority of another chair, they are in conflict. This is where a problem comes from. And we used to say, government of India is not one. It is government of India of several governments. Each one has its own priorities, and they don't like to do it. And there are situations where I have seen, I am promoted and go to the other chair. Till yesterday, my priority was of this chair. From tomorrow, it is the priority of that chair. They are in conflict. When you say, "Why you told this yesterday, we are changing it." He said, "No, that was from that chair. It is from this chair." This is an actual situation. It's not an imagination. This is actual situation. How do you handle such a situation that it doesn't depend on individual which chair is which is sitting? And this is where I said, now we are seeing a trend. The government is taking a decision today which cuts across. It's a single decision. And effectively, what it says is, situation comes where differences between chairs have to be taken into account, and where differences between the chairs have to be removed. Now you look at it from this national perspective. That you look at it from your departmental perspective, right? And they need not be the same. So this problem exists, and a lot depends on the directive which the person in the chair gets. And a lot depends on the individual's commitment. They say that this cannot be done. Right. So I don't think there is a simple answer for this. But our idea should be that we should take everything into account. But irrespective of whether I'm in this department or in that department, overall, I'm working for this country. That is there in the market.
Can I say something, please? You see, I think this is a very important question. The problem lies that our whole setup, in 1960s, late 60s, when Mrs. Gandhi brought this whole concept like Department of Science and Technology, when they were all being controlled by bureaucrats. And then it came to why science and technology should be controlled by bureaucrats. It should be by scientists. So the whole bunch of scientists, it came in Department of Environment, all scientists. Everywhere, all these departments were created in the ministries, and the scientists became the sort of governing individuals there by and large. So, but still, the final decision making was still being left to the Babus, the NIAS officers. But now, what has happened is that, on one hand, we have had the trends now, what our Prime Minister brought, our government brought some 2-3 years ago, is the parallel entries. Right, like, why all the time such bureaucrats only should take decisions? Scientists can enter. I mean, industrialists can enter the same kind of jobs, maybe for 3 years, 5 years, or whatever, that lateral entries. So that was one kind of thing, where, more versatile decisions could have been made. And the second thing now is, if you look at, sometimes we are going back, look at ANRF. Now, the present thing, which is, so laudable now, which we are starting with Ansandhan National Research Foundation, look at its constitution. What is the percentage of scientists in that? It is being dominated by how many IAS officers are there in ANRF? Why? Why should they be there? They have to make all the decisions about science in this country. They have to decide about scientific progress, scientific funding. I mean, everything from development, even NCSTC, is going to be stopped now. It should be the job of ANRF to create scientific temper in the country. So, I mean, all this is to be done by ANRF. Why it should be basically again dominated by the bureaucrats? Why so many people should be IAS officers?
So with all respect to all three of you on this. When you come to the chair, you also become bureaucrat. You don't look it as a scientist, with all respect to you. Dealing with DST now that, I write proposals, I write. It is not easy. DST has also become a bureaucracy.
That's what I'm telling you.
So adding to sir, it's all based on the ideology.
Okay,
and
let's
based on the
ask,
system.
and the, I mean,
Good evening, sir. I'm Lakshmi from the Department of Political Science, Address College. Thank you for both of your inputs. It was wonderful listening. So my question is that, as we all know, science is becoming a tool of soft power. It may be with the space diplomacy or vaccine alliances. So how do we prevent scientific collaborations from becoming an arena of geopolitical tensions? How do we prevent political section?
maybe I will add to that. The ISS, the International Space Station, that where everyone's started working together. Now, why is China trying to have its own space in that? Why is that ISS not
That's
just
political. That's not a scientific. Right? We don't want to become part of combined effort. They don't become part of combined effort. That doesn't say anything about the combined effort, except for the advantages of having the combined effort. So that I don't think we should take it as a model. It's a decision of the individual government. What is important is that where a collective goal overrides an individual. Where is the borderline? Right? And borderline is not fixed. Changes with time, with people, with issues in hand. Right? So I believe that this is something which will dynamically change, which is decided by the situation on that particular day. But our aim should be that a collective decision must take every viewpoint into account and finally come to a decision which is acceptable to all. If something is totally unacceptable to one or more people, there must be some weightage given to.
The question also is around on science as a soft diplomacy. Based on your own experiences, are there examples that you can give us in which India used science as a soft diplomacy? And what the
He asked about IAS. International Space Station. Beautiful question. You know how International Space Station started? Good ideas always start from one idea. When Gorbachev was a student in Moscow University, he developed friendship with books, who ultimately became prime minister. Gorbachev became prime minister. Gorbachev became general secretary. This student had become chief of the fusion research in USSR. He told Gorbachev, look, why also will become active? Americans are also working on this. It will be good if we can collaborate. By the way, even during Cold War, the fusion physicists of USA and USSR had been exchanging notes and in talking to each other. So when Gorbachev and Reagan were to meet, then this student told him, you suggest this to the Reagan. Let us make the first idea of collaboration between USA
And you I'm just friendship between two of you, right? With two students. And ultimately, this became an international space. And this ITER, International Gorbachev also had a similar discussion and international space station came. So there is a need, and there is a need people to learn from it. And they think that we can, without collaborating also they can do, they may not. Collaborations are sometimes compulsory, then nobody can stop it. And this countries do that, they can do it on their own, like China, that it can do it on its own. They must do it. That is also.
So good evening, sir. I'm Yamini and I'm from Meadows Christian College. I'm doing my undergraduate. I just completed my undergraduation. My round is on. We were talking about collaboration in a positive aspect. Then if you see the evolution of science, one we were interested in space, then now I see, as Ma'am said, we are interested in computer science, and later we are now interested in drone and technology. And now people are trying to collaborate for warfare. What do you think about that in a negative aspect? For example, counter attack on people. Such collaborations are being made. What do you
I don't think that people are working on defense. They could collaborate with other countries, not very many. Well, such countries which have very strong political interests, they collaborate, like India and Israel, China and Pakistan. But large scale defense collaborations are not very common. So that is a political issue. Cannot do anything about it.
But Dinesh, aren't there then so many technologies which have a dual use?
Yeah.
Now, for example, what you said that now look at China, for example, why China is doing so many space programs independently. If one of your objectives become how to destroy satellites of somebody else, no, you can't have a collaborative research on this or a collaborative program. You would be doing on your own. So many of technologies today are so much dual use technologies that so much of it can be weaponized.
All technologies are dual use. Every technology.
Exactly.
Did we use anything as a soft part to push our soft part when we were with the extra separately?
It's not possible all the time to identify. It's always the possibility of misuse from their perspective. In all
This is about the positive side. There's using science as a soft diplomacy.
No, okay. That, I think it's a powerful one. Has not been fully exploited for two reasons. Because the two communities are never coming together. The diplomats or the diplomacy practicing persons of diplomacy are very rarely seen together. There are not too many institutions like NIAS where the two have a coffee together, right? So they see it from their perspective, and the scientists see in their perspective, and very rarely they know each other, right? And unless it happens, there cannot be a positive impact on it. So that is man-made. The lack of collaboration between the scientists and diplomats is man-made.
I see there are two more questions from you and then Chandran. Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. This is Rizwana, a research intern at NIAS. It was nice listening to you. Sir, I have a question. You were talking about the importance of collaboration in the scientific discipline. Sir, what do you think the role that science should play in informing international relations and political decision making, considering the complex dynamics between the scientific research, national policies, and global governmental structures?
Got you.
You have not noticed one thing. Read the last line. It's a basic research. In basic research, there will not be any domestic science. Basic research is the applied research, it is technology, it is the application. Have personal, domestic, or a national interest. In basic research, these are very chalu. It's very chalu. We completely sidestepped the basic research. There is never there can be competition of priority. That's it. Beyond that, nothing else. Well, basic research, nothing has changed because we have discovered Higgs boson. You will remember at one time there was so much excitement all over the world. The discovery of Higgs boson, when it was announced by CERN, that was one of the very rare projects. Or recently, so it was a basic research. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ा. It has not changed our lives. It has not made potato cheaper. It has not made water cleaner, nothing. But it has aroused your intellectual curiosity. And we were only worried about that. So the question we are asking is very important. But we have just sidestepped it because it's too complex and has far too many layers.
Yes, in that context now, Professor Ramurthy probably should answer this. Today in NRF, 50,000 crore budget, 14,000 crore the government is committing, 36,000 crore has to come from the private donors or contributors. Basic research now, for example, how much do you think, what kind of interest those private contributors would have towards basic science research? I mean, maybe some pharma industry, they would come forward to pay the money. I am counting elephants in Bandipur. I am sure no industry is going to come and give me the money. How I count the elephants in Bandipur?
It will not happen.
So,
What you say is right.
So what will happen eventually if government is committing 14,000 crores and say 36,000 crore has to come from industry, and if it does not come, so what happens now?
Only 14,000 crores will be
What,
taken.
there's nothing children, what we can do with this? It's for 5 years. For all research, basic, applied, everything put together.
Like, unfortunately, getting the interest of industry is not easy. The so-called corporate social responsibility, they've also not said anywhere explicitly that you can include research into this. So meant for distributing freebies only, right? So, which is not, it need not be so. But unfortunately, that's the way it is. And nowhere it is said explicitly, if you are funding basic research, that can also be counted as CSR activity. Nobody has explicitly said that. They don't want to say it, because that's easy money for them to distribute.
Yes.
These are problems which are exist.
So we'll take one last question from Chandan.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. I'm Chandan Kumar from International Relations Department of University of Manchester. So I have heard a lot of positive things about science. To be honest, I see there is a negative side of that, like, negative science development. For example, I just watched a movie called Oppenheimer. When he started to begin preparation of atom bomb, he began with too much enthusiasm. After that, when he just finishing the bomb, he showed the concern that it brings a large devastation and everything. With the growth of science, like example, leaving the space debris and many things, even sir spoke about chemical things like India produces more habits which still there is a negative aspect of, like for example paracetamol is like contaminated, and with the growth of technology in cancer thing everything, but it only goes for 8 classes. So what do you think there is how can these things can be tackled, like, and it brings harm to humanitarian?
Mobile?
No, sir.
Do you use the mobile?
I do use.
Can you live without mobile?
You know, mobile uses coord. How that coord is obtained? Coord is obtained from mining in Democratic Republic of Congo. But with the age of minors who work there, 4 to 6-year-old boys decide not to use mobile and then come back.
He got
You remind me of this lady from Sunita Narayana.
Down to Earth
Yeah,
Science Center.
yeah. Who was very much opposed to cars. Herself, she would drive this. She was opposed to giving cheap cars to people. Because they keep causing so much trouble. But she came to, and that was the only question the fellow had asked. And when we were asking this question, I remembered that.
I'll keep the phone away. One last question.
No,
Sir.
but what we're telling is, okay? Actually, the region we try to say that we should have holistic treatment. When we really look at all the aspects of any book. That does not apply to basics. That applies to application also.
KGF, let it be the last one and then we break for tea and group photo with you.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself KJ from Pondicherry University. So where do we draw the line between scientific collaboration and nationalism? Where do we draw the line between scientific collaboration and nationalism?
Again, I will hide behind this basic research. Basic research never ever comes in way of when you are trying to find out what is mass of Higgs boson, nothing to do with this. In the process of finding it out, you may discover some, you may develop some techniques which perhaps also we cannot stop. Right? So there is no basic research, there is no. It's only when you start utilizing these scientific concepts to produce something or to use it for destructive purposes, then those questions. And Newton's law of motion, you know. Okay, once you understand it, you know it. But using that, you can also find out what should be the power with which you should throw a pen and ball to get that particular ball, right? But then you are using it. But it does not mean that you should not study it. Basically, certain work. It is only an application this time.
With that note, let's bring this session to an end. Thank you sir, for being with us. You traveled all the way from Bangalore just to be with
All the
us.
way, Bangalore, not that far. All the way, I know that Bangalore. So
From Lahore is 2 hours
Inside.
1 hour inside and 2 hours.
Thank you, sir. Let's thank both the scientists for being spending their afternoon with us. And they'll also be with us tomorrow morning. Professor Ramamurthy will be talking to us on how China managed its science. How did China rise? So we'll be talking to us in the morning. Let's give a big hand for on behalf of the National Institute of Advanced Studies, let me thank Department of International Relations at Mysore, and also Vigyan Bhavan for now. This has become like our home.
Yes.
You know, most of our events in the last 4 events we have held in this very hall. So let us thank also, sir. I see that you have an office here. Thank you for hosting us, and thank Dr. Bharti and way of the Institute for hosting us here. Thank you, ma'am, for doing that. And let's break for a cup of tea. But before that, we'll take a picture with.
Before getting a going for tea, I must be very grateful for always, multiple times I repeated. I must be thankful to NIAS and Professor Subhash sir, and for giving, frequently giving an opportunity to take my students to educate them regarding various issues. This time is very fantastic. We got Madam Sir, especially Ramamurthy sir and Srivatsan sir. It's very honor and it's very special for us. And they educated us, science beyond borders. What else science can do? There is no end data. If science can work, we cannot draw the line in between countries, in between society. Science is beyond the borders. It can work, it can reach anything. And we need, only thing is that we need to understand what science, how we can utilize that. Sir, once again, thanks to you and thanks to you people, sir, to educate us regarding the science and technology and various issues, how the journey started and what are the issues and challenges we are facing. Ultimately, with the good hope and goodwill, public will, we can work for the society, well-being of the society. That is the thing, that is one thing we can come to a conclusion. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Let's give a big hand to answer. Okay.